If you ask anybody from the St. Thomas Academy community what the crack drill squad is, odds are you'll get an entirely different answer from each person. Some people will tell you that it's a weird group of kids who like to throw guns around. Others will tell you about how it's a long-standing tradition and tell you about stories from their own heyday. Many will tell you about their own critical perspective of the squad and perhaps even tell you how they got that opinion. But in reality, the majority of people don't really know much about how today's crack drill squad came to be. When I joined the squad during my sophomore year, I knew nothing about the history of St. Thomas, and especially nothing about crack drill. My only real memory of squad at this point was watching them in the Faithful Shepherd gym next to John Bakula as we made fun of this year's speaker and joked about how weird it is that he was yelling. However, when I made crack drill, I was exposed to entirely new perspectives and memories that completely changed my interpretation. I've heard many tales of past drillers' skills and the many different public and private traditions that have changed over the 83 years of its existence. I realized that the clandestine nature of the crack drill squad meant that only a select few know about this history. I decided to tell this history, not only because I believe that it deserves to be known, but also because it might give critics a new perspective on one of the Academy's oldest and most proud traditions. The early life of the squad took place in the St. Thomas College campus. Here, life in the squad was vastly different. Before the official crack drill squad organization was founded, the crack platoon was created in the 1920s. This name originally came in reference to the cracking sound of the drill, but also because crack was an adjective that was synonymous with expert. For example, a crack shot was a person who was an expert in shooting. The crack platoon, this platoon of crack drill members was an important part of the Corps cadets and was very similar to what the crack drill squad would one day be. The official crack drill squad was formed in 1937, and the crack platoon and crack drill squad both coexisted and even had many different members for over a decade. At one point in 1940, the crack platoon divided into two separate units, which were essentially a varsity team and a JV team. In this era, the University of Minnesota hosted a drill team tournament in which STA competed against schools such as Shattuck, Pillsbury, and Cretin. According to the 1933 cadet, the St. Thomas team would win with honors every single year. Sometime later, the crack platoon would disband, and the crack drill squad would become the only precision drill team within the academy. Contrary to popular belief, the crack drill squad was not formed or even originally commanded by Richard E. Fleming. Fleming was born in 1917 and graduated from STA in the class of 1935, which was 2 years before the squad was formed. Furthermore, looking at his yearbook of 1935, he was also not the commander or even a member of the crack platoon. Richard E. Fleming was never associated with crack drill in any way. The crack drill squad was actually formed by Major Burton Hood, who was a part of the military staff. The first commander of the crack drill squad was Cadet Captain Jensen. 3 years later, in 1940, the crack drill squad commander, Lieutenant Colonel William Wright, organized the purchase of special uniforms that are essentially the exact same as the uniforms used today. One question that I have been asked many times is the meaning of the phrase, This is the phrase that the commander utters to signal the beginning of a new section of the performance. I have no idea what this phrase means and cannot even begin to guess its origin. However, in my research, I found a video of a commander from the St. Thomas College squad uttering the same hep as it said today, meaning that this tradition dates back at least 60 years. This same phrase was even said in the 1953 Ed Sullivan Show performance. The Ed Sullivan Show was arguably the most important event in crack drill history. The Ed Sullivan Show was a nationally televised night show, which was extremely popular at this time. 60,710,000 people watched the show, which represented about 83% of the television audience at this time. It would be comparable to the Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon, but it was even more popular. Ed Sullivan himself asked the crack drill squad to go on the show in 1953 and perform. This performance was visibly perfect and created a great reputation for the squad. The squad has maintained a very similar drill since its earliest video documentations and deviates only slightly in its core parts, boxes, and moves. One early 20th century variation took the concept of icing a drill to an entirely different level. Before the crack drill squad was created, there was a group called Crack Drill on Ice. This group literally drilled on ice arenas with skates. Cadet entries on this illustrious group were somewhat blotchy, but we know for sure that they had been active throughout the 20s and 30s and likely disbanded in the 40s because the entries often complained that the Crack Drill on Ice organization had a difficult time finding events to perform at. Although the squad has clearly undergone some changes since its conception, its original values and culture still stand strong. I often wonder how or why everything stays so similar throughout the years. There are probably hundreds of reasons why this tradition is so deeply ingrained, But personally, I like to think that, like any passion, people fall deeply in love with the Crack Drill Squad. I've seen this process happen 3 times now within the squad, but it's also visible in every other corner of cadet life. Time flies when you're doing the things that you love, and we all latch onto every memory and tradition that we can from this place. As the cycle of passionate cadets keep coming and keep falling in love with whatever activity they choose to be a part of here, it forms tradition. For me, that passion is clearly the Crack Drill Squad, and whether you hate it or love it, all I ever ask is for you to respect that. Thank you and God bless.